Ladies and gentlemen of Knucklehead Nation, welcome to our Canelo versus John Ryder post-fight sit-down. You're here with the FightersRep, baby. And, wow, a lot to unpack. A lot to unpack after watching that fight. I heard boos in the crowd. Obviously, we heard a lot of cheers. I want to say that the place looked absolutely packed. I mean, it looked like a swarm of humanity in there at Akron Stadium in Jalisco, Mexico, which is where Canelo Alvarez is from. So, fantastic homecoming, but was it the result that he wanted? I don't think so. Obviously, I would think Canelo Alvarez would want the knockout in this situation. He didn't get it, but that's because John Ryder is built out of something different, man. He got caught with a lot of big shots in this fight, did John Ryder. And he stayed up. So let's get back to it. Let's try to unpack it one piece at a time because there's a lot to unpack in this fight, right? So first and foremost, right? Massive, group of people that came out to watch Canelo fight in his homecoming. Incredible the amount of support the Mexican people have for their fighters. I absolutely love them. I think they're some of the best fans in the world. I would say they're right there with the UK fans, and it looked like a big deal. They made it look beautiful. The entrance was beautiful. 150 mariachi or whatever it was playing for Canelo. It was amazing stuff. But a lot of interesting stuff happened in this fight. First and foremost, I gotta say, one thing that right off the bat that drove me crazy, and I want to discuss with you guys. John Ryder, his corner, why was his corner putting gauze in his nose? Like, I understand the guy's bleeding, right? Guys, I understand the guy's bleeding. Why would you put gauze in his nose in between rounds? I mean, he was blowing out his behind in between rounds. I don't know if you guys could see him, especially at the beginning. Credit to him for being in good enough shape to last to the 12th round of this fight. He absolutely was. I mean, this guy's no punk. John Ryder's no punk. That's another takeaway from this fight. This guy's a real gorilla, for real. He looks like one and he fights like one. But why would you put gauze in his nose in between rounds just because he's bleeding? Listen, wipe the blood away, put it in, pull it out. They're sticking 2 pieces of gauze in this guy's nose. He's breathing out of his mouth. He can barely breathe in between rounds in the biggest fight of his life. I just found it to be very disturbing. The reason, besides the fact that it's the fight of his life, that I find it to be disturbing is if you guys do a little bit of research on Akron Stadium in Jalisco, Mexico, in the city or township of Zapopan, if you look at the sea level, and this was, this is something only a nerd like me would do, right? I looked up the sea level of Zapopan, Jalisco, Mexico, where the stadium is located. Guys, I'm going to read this to you so we don't get this wrong, right? 5,243 feet. Let me put that in perspective for you guys. The sea level in Denver, Colorado, mile high, is 5,280. The sea level in Zapopan, where the stadium is, 5,243. I mean, 37 feet shy of being mile high. You know the altitude is crazy. Breathing is crazy at high altitude. And I looked this up because, I've always understood that Mexico can be, in certain areas, very high altitude. And I've been in areas with high altitude, and I find it difficult to breathe compared to places that are, closer to sea level. And when I saw John Ryder's team was putting gauze in his nose, at that altitude, I just, it just blew me away. That being said, good fight, entertaining fight. I thought Canelo was going to get him out of there. Earlier in the fight, he dropped John Ryder. It looked like he hurt him pretty bad with the straight right hand, which, as we all know, is a southpaw's kryptonite. the same way the straight left hand down the pipe is supposed to be the orthodox fighter's kryptonite. But I felt like John Ryder, even though I would be hard-pressed to give him a round. Look, I disagree with the DAZN broadcasters, and I don't love their broadcast booth, and they have a reputation of not being that great. And I agree with that reputation. I couldn't give a clear round to Ryder in this fight. I mean, maybe you can argue a couple of the rounds went to Ryder, but for me, watching as an objective observer, it was hard for me to give Ryder even a single round in this fight. That said, he had success in this fight, right? I know it sounds weird. Again, this is a weird night, man. This was a weird night. I know it sounds weird that a guy who I don't think won a single round in this fight, to be honest with you guys, I didn't think he really won a round in this fight. I wasn't convinced he won a single round in this fight. I think it's weird that a guy in that position did have a lot of success in this fight, right? And what I mean is, almost every time they came at distance, and I said this in my prediction, of course I thought Canelo would win. I actually thought he'd finish the fight between the 8th and the 12th round because I said Ryder's durable. That didn't happen, but Ryder did show himself to be durable. But I said in my prediction that I felt like Ryder was going to make it dirty on the inside. That was the way he was going to win this fight. That's exactly what he did. And one thing that he did over and over again in this fight, and again, I got to give him credit, he made it dirty on the inside, just like I said he would, but he was overhooking or underhooking Canelo on the right side, keeping his left arm open to throw that left uppercut up the middle. And I mean, he must have landed 100. I don't know, I might be exaggerating, but it felt like he landed 100 uppercuts on the inside on Canelo Alvarez. Not that it did much. Because, you know, Canelo, again, still, I just thought he completely outclassed him for the entirety of the bout, and I thought he won pretty much every round. But Ryder did land a lot of uppercuts on Canelo, and that's probably a weapon that future opponents are going to be looking at. I mean, I think Ryder did show some holes in Canelo's game on the inside. I think he landed a lot of shots. At the same time, he's a southpaw. So I felt like that kind of kept him around in this fight. I felt like that helped him. Besides his durability, I felt like him being a southpaw kept him around in this fight, kept him alive because that left hand was a bit more coordinated than your average, you know, and he was able to catch a lot of Canelo's big right hooks that Canelo was trying to throw in this fight. Canelo was throwing, guys, knuckleheads, Canelo in this fight was throwing that right hand reckless. I mean, he was trying to get Ryder out of there. You could tell he was trying to get the knockout in front of his people in Jalisco. But again, Ryder was just coordinated enough, you know, as a left-handed fighter, as a southpaw to catch it. And he did get caught up the middle. You know, I thought maybe for a while Canelo was throwing that wide right hook to maybe fool Ryder into continuing to block here and then come up the middle. He kind of did do that and dropped Ryder early in the fight, but couldn't get him out of there. And he hurt Ryder a couple times in this fight as well, subsequent to the knockdown. But couldn't get him out of there. And, you know, big credit to Ryder. Every time he got hurt, especially later in the fight, he would battle back, right? He would fight back. He wouldn't just sit there and take it. He would come back. He would fight. He would be aggressive. And he landed some good shots. I would say his best punches in the fight, you know, he was landing a lot of 1-2s, and he was, again, landing that left hook on the inside. He would overhook or he'd underhook Canelo, time up, throw that left hook up the middle, and he caught Canelo with that a lot. Canelo, again, caught him with a lot of big right hooks, a lot of rights up the middle. Good left hook to the body. Canelo was landing. I felt like you could see, you know, the right side of John Ryder's body getting marked up a bit, but it was also smeared with blood, right? Because by the third round, John Ryder's face was an absolute bloody mess. And this, you know, and I hate to beat a dead horse, you know, but this takes me back to, you know, just because the guy's bleeding out his nose doesn't mean you got to ram 2 pieces of gauze up his nose in a mile-high altitude stadium, when the guy's just blowing out his ass, sucking for air. I mean, I just thought that was crazy. Wild stuff. Wild stuff. I do think a lot of people coming off of this are going to be talking a lot of smack about Canelo. I do think people are going to say he's showing his age. He's over the hill. This is a guy he would have gotten out of there a couple years ago. But I still don't know. I'm still on the fence about that, because Ryder is such a durable guy. I mean, I think they were saying during the broadcast the last time he was stopped, the only time he was stopped was something like 8 years ago back in the middleweight division, a division that he felt he had no place in because he had to kind of kill himself to get down there. But a lot of people are going to say a lot of crap about Canelo in this fight, you guys. They're going to say he should have gotten him out of there. They're going to say he didn't do it. They're going to say he didn't push the gas. They're going to say he didn't do it in front of his own people in Jalisco, Mexico. He's going to have a lot of naysayers after this fight. And it's a good thing for him because maybe it's going to open up more opportunity. But it's also a bad thing for him because the haters are going to come after him. I just thought it was a bit, it was a bit anticlimactic, I'll say. I mean, I thought he did a good job. I thought he fought a good fight. I think John Ryder's just a tough guy, not a guy that anybody can put away. And I did notice Canelo landed a lot of big shots in this fight that I think would have probably hurt your average guy. Just John Ryder's he's just built a bit different, I think. What happens to Canelo after this fight? What happens to Canelo after this fight? My understanding is he wants a rematch with Dimitri Bivol in September. Do I think he looked different enough to beat Dimitri Bivol in September at 175 pounds? No, I don't. I got to be honest, I don't. Do I think Dimitri Bivol drops down to 168 and beats Canelo? Very possible. Very possible. What I'm hearing is Canelo's not going to want Bivol to drop down to 168. He's going to want to come up to 175. And the fact that he's the A side, he's going to dictate that. He's going to go up to 175. He's going to fight Dimitri Bivol. And, as great of a fighter as Canelo is, there's always somebody out there that's got your number. And after tonight's performance as well, I didn't see anything much different here. I think Dimitri Bivol beats him again. I think Ryder could have potentially won this fight, right, if he was a lot more active. A lot more active. I think that's the difference. I think Bivol is just a guy who not only has stamina, not only has athleticism and speed and everything else, he's just so active. And Canelo isn't really that active. He's just, he kind of takes his time and he picks his shots. And that's why Ryder lost this fight. You can't sit there in front of Canelo. You can't sit there in front of Canelo and just pick your shots. You have to outwork him, man. You have to outwork him. You have to outbox him. You have to outwork him. We saw Floyd do it. We saw Bivol do it. We saw Golovkin do it in the first fight, if you ask me, even though he didn't get the decision. You got to outwork him. He does have stamina issues. I think tonight he didn't have horrible stamina issues, but he definitely slowed down in the last 3 rounds of the fight. Maybe fighting at mile high and Zapopan had something to do with it. But either way, I thought he won this fight clearly. That being said, again, I'm still not convinced he beats Bivol. Guys, I'm not convinced Canelo Alvarez comes back in September and beats Dimitri Bivol. In fact, I'm not convinced he could beat Dimitri Bivol. Bivol drained himself down 168 pounds. So Canelo's still good. Don't get me wrong. Canelo's still one of the best in the game for me. But people are going to talk trash because he didn't get this guy out of there. And I still don't think he beats Bivol. If this is your first time watching this, guys, if this is your first time joining me on the channel, please subscribe, like, comment below, and be sure to join the channel. Joining the channel helps me continue to build the channel, get you guys, great content, and keep coming up with videos on the daily for you guys and creating this community for us to talk about boxing. I'd love to know what you guys think about this fight. Drop it in the comments, drop it in the chat. Tell me what you think about this. I mean, because I could see it. I could see it already. I could hear it already. People talking trash about Canelo for not getting John Ryder out of there, especially considering it was his homecoming in his hometown. But people got to keep in mind. I mean, this guy Ryder, maybe it was just a bad pick. Maybe it was just a bad pick for a homecoming because this guy's durable. This is a durable guy. This guy was eating big shots. This guy was eating big shots. This guy was eating shots that put Sergey Kovalev away. This guy was, eating shots that put Caleb Plant away. This guy was eating shots, man, and just coming. This guy was eating shots. This guy had, almost triple G level chin. This guy had a real chin on him. And this is 2 fights in a row now that Canelo goes to decision. The one before is the loss to Bivol. People are going to talk crap about this fight. People are going to talk crap about Canelo. Do I think it's justified? I don't. I don't think it's justified. I think he's fighting really tough guys, and you can't get everybody out of there. You can't get everybody out of there. But do I think what he did tonight is enough to show me that he could beat Bivol? I'll reiterate, no. I don't think Canelo can beat Bivol. Not unless he has a great night and Bivol has a bad night. I think Bivol's just all wrong for him. Horrible matchup. Taller, faster, more stamina, super active. Canelo's just sitting there. You guys see him. He's just sitting there. He's just waiting. He might throw 1 shot at a time. He might throw 2 shots at a time. Once in a while, he might throw a third or a fourth. But, I mean, he's a sniper. He's a pot shot guy, Bang. Bang, bang. This is his pace. Stand in front of you, move around, bang, Whereas Bivol, he's just letting them fly, man. He's bouncing back, he's bouncing forward, he's letting them fly. Whip, 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 whip. He's just whipping those hands at you. So, I don't know. This is how I'm seeing it, knuckleheads. Tomorrow you're going to wake up, you're going to hear all this trash talk about Canelo Alvarez. Does he deserve it? Probably doesn't. But boxing is, the fight game is full of fickle fans. And, they're going to say Dimitri Bivol in September. He's courageous. He's going to do it. He's going to take that fight. He's courageous. He's going to do it. He's going to take that fight. But he's not going to win that fight. Michael Rondell, what's going on, brother? He says Canelo looked gassed towards the end. I think Canelo wanted to get the KO, put him in a different mindset. Seemed like a bit of he should be out already. I agree, man. Ryder's just a durable guy, man. Ryder's just a durable guy. Like I said, you can't get everybody out of there. That's not the way this works. Some of these guys are just built different. And this guy Ryder, he hasn't been stopped in 8 years, and he's never been stopped in this division. He got stopped in a division below, probably dehydrated, sucking himself dry. Anyway, knuckleheads, just so you guys know, we're going to be dropping videos almost daily, so please subscribe, like, join, leave your comments below. I'd love to hear what you guys thought about this fight, what you think people are going to say about Canelo going forward, and tell me what you think about the Bivol fight. Does he beat Bivol? Let me know what you guys think. And, just so you guys know, we will be going live. You can participate after these big fights on Saturdays. We only cover boxing. It's nothing but boxing. So be sure to jump on and join us. Let us know what you think. I'm going to get out of here, but it's great talking to you guys. I look forward to hearing what you guys have to say. But get ready.